This is always the problem with these protocols. You always miss something out. Our father and leader, the former governor of Ondo State and his wife, His Excellency Evangelist Bamidele, I want to stand on existing protocols, as they say. It gladdens my heart to welcome you all to this epoch-making event. It is a gathering that has been carefully put together to help put light back into our education system and halt its dangerous but steady slide to the precipice. Education and human capital development is a critical component of this government's 8-point agenda. Based on the government's egalitarian principles and commitment to education for all, and in accordance with our party's manifesto, government announced a free and compulsory education policy for all children from birth to the end of secondary school on October 16, 2010, when I came into office. This was not a cheap populist agenda. We believe that education is a fundamental and an inalienable right of every citizen. If the state expects full service and complete loyalty from its citizens, then the state is bound to educate every citizen to the limit of his or her ability, so that he or she can also serve the state to the limit of his or her competence. The state therefore accepts full responsibility for the financing of its education program without discouraging voluntary community participation. Government's approach to this entailed abolition of tuition fees in schools, abolition of examination fees, provision of stationery items and instructional materials, provision of furniture in schools, provision of textbooks and computers, full payment of external examination fees, and all fees dues or placement examinations such as JAM and UME. This government has also taken important steps in the technical, vocational and tertiary sectors in the state, and we are working closely with development partners like the World Bank to enable us to achieve the goal of enhancing the functionality and sustainability of the education sector. While the above has received widespread commendation from discerning observers and the larger society, it is my view that no matter how sound and visionary any public policy pursued by the political leadership is, it requires the consensus and political will of all the stakeholders for it to achieve an enduring and positive impact. There is need, first and foremost, for an agreement on the philosophy guiding education policy by all stakeholders. This should spell out the underlying rationale for education in the first instance. For us, we see education first as a vehicle for human development and state transformation. And second, we see education as helping to break down social stratification while shaping common and replicable societal values. This summit is well within its remit to assist government in sharpening the philosophy undergirding education in Ekiti State. But that is not the only task before this distinguished group of stakeholders in the education sector. One does not require the skills of a clairvoyant or a rocket scientist to realize that all is not well with our education sector in the state. It was this challenging state of the sector that informed our decision to inaugurate a 15-member task force and visitation panel on education sector on 10th January 2011, with a charge to take a global look at the present state of our education system and recommend workable solutions. The task force did an excellent job as reflected in its report with far-reaching recommendations. The report of the panel confirmed our fears that so many things are indeed wrong with our education system at the primary, secondary, technical, vocational, and tertiary levels in terms of decaying infrastructural facilities, poor quality of teaching, low morale of the teachers, lack of effective monitoring and evaluation, inadequate funding, policy somersaults, among several other issues. All this brought the state to a certain level of poor performances in public examinations at all levels, while many of the products of the education institutions in the state parade low and abysmal scholarship. As a product of Ekiti scholarship myself, this decadent level of our education forces one to recall with nostalgia that not too long ago, Ekiti land was often better identified as a bookish state where we had more professors than any single homogeneous entity in our country, where people of other lands queued jealously behind our children when scholarships are being competed for, and where production of university graduates became the standard for measuring success or failure in any household. Then students avoided examination malpractices like the plague, while they proactively engaged themselves in healthy scholarly competition. Today, the good old story has painfully changed to the embarrassment of genuine lovers of Ekiti's growth and development. Education is a tool universally used for a people's emancipation, growth, and development. It is, however, sad that the primary goal of education, of enabling one to acquire adequate knowledge and abilities for the purpose of individual and societal growth, has been lost over the years. Because of the state of anarchy that our education sector is at present, the state has not been able to derive maximum benefits both in terms of manpower development and in terms of instilling societal values of the Yoruba Omoluabi. This administration is deeply concerned about the state of our education system and is determined to leave no stone unturned in effecting a major turnaround in the sector as a catalyst for the much desired transformation of our land. And I of course agree with the keynote speaker that education is the bedrock of all of the other points on our 8-point agenda. The fact that it was not the first listed could not be deemed to be a relegation in any instance. I just want to ensure that everybody is clear about that. This disposition informed the convocation of this summit to address these issues with a view to fixing them once and for all. I have no doubt in my mind that we have assembled the right caliber of eminent scholars and stakeholders to use their wealth of knowledge and diverse exposure to chart a dignified path to revamp the comatose education sector, which by extension has a multiplier effect on the socio-cultural and political economic sectors of the state. The summit provides us with opportunities to examine all the components within the education sector: basic, primary, secondary, technical, vocational, and tertiary education, as well as fundamental cross-cutting issues of philosophy, funding, curriculum, technology, gender, and functionality. I challenge all summit participants to consider this gathering as a lifetime assembly to help our dear state to once again find their feet in our common heritage. I am confident in your ability to build a workable roadmap to reclaim the lost glory in this all-important sector. This is the moment we should not allow to slip us by in doing what is right. Let us discuss plainly, frankly, constructively, and fairly. The government attaches great importance to this summit, as its report will form a major plan on the policy direction of this administration in the education sector at all levels. On this note, it is my pleasure and honor to declare the Ekiti State Education Summit open, and I wish all participants successful delivery.